The Terminal List, Dark Wolf Episode 6 Recap and Ending Explained, Is Yousef Dead? In the Terminal List, Dark Wolf Episode 5, Hastings abducted one of the men who had attacked them after Haverford's task force blocked the convoy traveling from Budapest to Geneva to transfer Molnar's bearings, which would be used to construct nuclear bombs, to Iranian scientists. When Hastings' torture of this anonymous guy reached its height, he discovered that he was a member of the Bundesnachrichtendienst, or BND, a German intelligence agency, before he could obtain any further information regarding what the BND knew about Khalid. The officer was killed as a result of Khalid Network's operations. Meanwhile, Edwards addressed Perash over her betrayal. She stated she was tasked with discovering Haverford's link to the shepherd as well as delivering the bearings. So she had no choice but to, metaphorically, stab Edwards in the back. Edwards decided to trust her and take her to Stein and Rhein to meet up with the rest of the group. However, they were hit with a bomb. While Edwards lived, Perash died. In addition, Varon tracked out the shepherd, or someone claiming to be the shepherd, and attempted to take data from his laptop. That resulted in a violent confrontation. Ultimately ended in the assailant's death. Varon was hurt, but she emerged unscathed from the incident. How were these plot threads explored in Episode 6? Let us find out. Vahid is captured. Hastings abandons the dead body of the German intelligence officer in an Austrian church. It's intended to be a moving picture, but I kept thinking of how terrible it would be for the people who visit that church to discover a horribly disfigured corpse inside. If the church is abandoned, Hastings has allowed the dead body to decay within. In that scenario, why didn't he simply leave the body in the torture house? I doubt Hastings is aware of the officer's faith. So, why choose a church? Also, if the officer is indeed deceased, why not bury him? Why leave him to fester in a church that would most likely be visited by people? I do not know. Anyway, after surviving the attack in Zurich, Edwards administers to his wounds on his own before continuing on to Stein am Rhein. After arriving at the rendezvous spot, he instantly discards his previous possessions and gets into the most recent safe house, a boat, with the stolen bearings, where Farouk and Landry are already waiting for him. Haverford is also there, and Edwards wastes no time in doubting his intelligence. In the meanwhile, Hastings arrives and informs them that they were not assisting a upstream disruption, but rather halting one. So what I'm getting is that there wasn't one. However, there are two sets of bogus bearings. Mordecai gave one, while the Khalid Network transported the other. The German intelligence believed they were about to obtain the bearings and then provide them to the Iranian customer. Proves how misguided Ben can be when he's fighting for his own cause. Ben has created an intriguing complex where he prioritizes his team's devotion over anything, including the advice of his superiors. His dishonorable dismissal from the Navy SEALs was first caused by this kind of inconsistency. Ben is determined to carry their CIA assignments through despite the warning signs that Rafe correctly highlights, and he views Rafe as a coward for abandoning them before their task is finished. This provides some background for Ben's ultimate betrayal of James Reese and demonstrates how obstinate he can be when driven by belief. Most of Ben's shortcomings have been exposed by Rafe as being self-centered, careless, and ultimately wrong. Ben will stop at nothing to stand up for his beliefs, as seen by the moment at the conclusion of the episode where he goes rogue. He was correct to resist Haverford, but now that he has been labeled an American traitor, he has a significant challenge in the conclusion. The eventual Haverford treachery was rather expected, which undermines some of the drama that the series attempted to create. As a result, certain sequences in the Terminal List, Dark Wolf Episode 6 were far more enjoyable than others. I still hope that the series will allow us to go further into Ben's mind than it has so far. As seen by the scene at the end of the episode where he goes rogue, Ben will do whatever it takes to defend his convictions. He was right to oppose Haverford, but he has a big obstacle at the end since he has been called an American traitor. Some of the drama that the series tried to establish was destroyed by the eventual Haverford betrayal, which was quite predictable. This made some scenes in the Terminal List, Dark Wolf Episode 6 far more entertaining than others. I continue to hope that the series will provide us more insight into Ben's thoughts than it has so far. While waiting at the airstrip, Edwards, Landry, and Farouk realize they have been deceived. As they grapple with their dilemma, they receive a picture from Varon, proving that Haverford is working with Cyrus, the real shepherd. Without hesitation, at the end of the terminal list, Dark Wolf Episode 6, the trio intercepts a private jet bound for Tehran and murders Yousef and his whole crew. Yousef contacts Cyrus in his final hours, and he and Haverford can hear Edwards, Landry, and Farouk wreaking havoc. They take the bearings and return to their secure boat. They expect to be blown up as soon as they enter, but all they find is a letter written by Haverford to the director of the CIA in which he paints Edwards, Landry, Farouk, and Hastings as rogue agents and blames them for the deaths of their allies, that is, Mossad and BND officers, and the attempt to give Iran the opportunity to develop nuclear weapons. Essentially, it is their death warrant. Varon reaches the safe boat at this chaotic hour. Vahid is dead. Cyrus is at a party with Yousef when he receives a call from Vahid's phone. He doesn't inform Cyrus that he has been apprehended. Instead, he states that he has the bearings, which will be handed to Yousef by the Khalid Network's couriers immediately before his departure from Geneva. Haverford murders Vahid as soon as the agreement is completed. He then says the obvious: his task group will meet with Yousef, and he adds that the bearings they'll give him are those supplied to them by Mordecai. After resting on a train from Munich, Varon arrives in Geneva, and while going through the station, she hears of the attack on her companions and Perash's death. She takes sanctuary in a motel, phones her team, and informs the operator of everything that has occurred thus far. The most crucial element here is that the person Varon murdered was most likely not the shepherd, and she is still seeking for him using the information on the Baldy's laptop. However, the operator recommends her to stay still and wait for extraction rather than following Haverford or the shepherd. She is instructed that her portion of the task is over and that she should return to base with all of the information she has gathered thus far. She claims to want to contact Edwards, but she is also forbidden from doing so. Instead of just waiting for someone to take her home, she begins hacking into the stolen laptop and discovers something strange about the false shepherd's death. I'm not sure what she observes, but I'm guessing she recognizes that the actual shepherd is still out there, and she wants to find him as soon as possible since Haverford is in contact with him, and they're most likely still manipulating Edwards and his comrades. Well, she isn't incorrect since, when she hunts down Haverford and receives access to CCTV video of his in-person meeting with the shepherd, she discovers Haverford with none other than Cyrus. Yeah, Cyrus is the true shepherd. Before proceeding to the exchange, Edwards has another verbal altercation with Hastings, who reminds him that they have wandered far from their initial purpose, which, by the way, concluded with Massoud Danawi's death. As usual, Edwards attempts to persuade Hastings to stay and finish the mission, but this time Hastings decides to go. Well, not technically, considering he observes the aforementioned interaction from a distance, and he may have acted if he believed Edwards' life was in danger. The next day, Edwards gets down to business and informs Landry and Farouk that they'll meet Yousef at the appointed airstrip, give the false bearings, get the cash, and go. Landry questions why he's being invited, especially given he was caught sexually harassing Varon. But I suppose for Edwards, patriotism erases all flaws, even sexual harassment. Anyway, Haverford provides them the information they need to present, along with his blessings, and